Lovers Quarrel. It's a long, sustained quarrel.
What's going on, world?
Hey, everybody.
It's your guy, TJ, Mr. New Cool.
And it's your terribly tired tarantula.
Oh, so every week you're going to change it.
I'm going to try to. I think so. I'm always tired. But like,
what kind of noise is a tarantula?
I think tarantulas hiss a little bit, right? Like a little.
I don't know.
A little.
I mean, sure, why not?
Point is, I'm always tired. However, I'm going to mix it up with what kind of animal I'm going to be, what kind of thing
you're going to be.
Yeah, so last week I was a pterodactyl.
You know?
I was laying, tired. I'm going with the alliteration thing. But I'm going to start, I'm
freestyling.
Yeah.
Something like a rapper.
Something like it.
Bars.
For days.
Exactly.
For days. So
how are you doing, Dani?
I'm okay, actually. It could go right into my elevator talk as to why I'm doing pretty good if you're ready for that. But how are you?
I'm doing better.
Y'all, let's talk about it. So you want how I had the world's worst patient for the last.
I was like, I'm not the worst. First off, you're the worst.
Definitely
take care of a person ever.
That's not a word, but okay.
Well, listen, I'm making things up. You're freestyling. I'm making things up.
But terribly tired and tarantula are all real words.
All right, whatever.
Okay, so
my podcast, my words.
Whatever.
Anyway,
y'all,
let me tell you how
this man.
I decided to get LASIK again. Right?
Yeah, talk your shit.
And this is gonna go into my elevator pitch. Go ahead, come on, elevator. Let's go down.
Wait, you gonna make me laugh?
Come on, go down.
Hold on. Going down.
Because I can't see anything, so she's gonna press it for me. Anyway, Thursday afternoon, get the LASIK surgery. I've done this already, so I'm like, this is the first time was easy, And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, what if this isn't like the first time? And then we had Shannon, and Shannon told me she was like she got LASIK, she got the PRK over again, and it was worse. And I agree, that shit was terrible. Yeah. My eyes were burning, and that's because I was just doing too much, checking my phone and stuff. I was just doing too much.
Not listening to the doctor's orders immediately.
Well, yes.
Being a terrible patient
I'll take no. Anyway, so then I'm in pain. Thank God my mother-in-law, she took care of me. My little cousin came and took care of me.
You were asleep the whole time she was here. She didn't take care of you.
Danielle took care of me.
I did.
At the night. Yes, you did.
Definitely took care of you.
But let me tell you how I woke up Saturday morning. So Saturday afternoon, it was like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, you did.
And I'm like, hello, anybody here? Nobody responds. I can't see my phone. So I'm like, hey, Siri. She pops up. She opens up for me. I'm like, call Dani. Calls Dani. Dani, where are you? Oh, I'm wherever.
I'm at my mother's house.
So she left me, y'all.
With our daughter.
Let me tell you how she left me.
Our young
blind,
daughter, who is
stranded.
Not even 2. So can you imagine? So now let me tell my story.
No, I'm not finished.
Oh, okay.
I'm not finished.
Okay, and
she left me blind and stranded.
Blind?
Yes, I couldn't see anything. I was partially blind.
It's a touch excessive, but go ahead.
How so? I couldn't see anything. Let me tell you. First off, I'm not used to having contacts in my eyes. So when they do the surgery, they basically destroy my cornea and then they put a contact lens over my eye so that way it doesn't irritate, get infected or whatever. But I can feel the contact all over my eye. So I'm in pain the whole time. I literally slept from Thursday to Sunday. Sunday, yes. On Sunday, I was coming back to who I was, but literally from Thursday till Sunday, I was off the count. But my wife leaves me. Then, all right, she comes in, she has food for me. I go to sleep, I wake back up. I'm like, I want this food. My mama Celeste, my favorite wife. And then she eats my food. How do you eat a sick person's food? A disabled person's food?
You're not disabled.
I was disabled.
You're not disabled.
Could I drive?
No, you couldn't drive.
Could I walk?
Yes, you could walk.
No, no.
Could I walk to the bathroom?
Well, that's because I remembered the steps.
Oh, so just muscle memory. That's all.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So let me tell my version of these.
This is crazy to me.
These events.
This is why you don't get married, guys.
No, this is exactly why you get married.
Nope.
No, you know what? This is right. This is why don't get married, because then when you got a husband, because men are babies, many of them.
That's crazy to me.
No, it's a pretty solid fact. But TJ gets the surgery again. Now let's go rewind this a little bit. The first time TJ had the surgery,
I was Gucci.
No, you weren't, maybe not as bad as this time, but you definitely still were like in pain, and then rightfully so, because the little contact lens fell out.
Yeah, exactly. I was Gucci until once that lens fell out.
Yeah, but you were
that was my kryptonite.
You were in discomfort because you kept playing with your eyes, and that's why the lens fell out.
Yeah, but I'm saying
you punched a mailbox.
I did,
and it tipped over.
I surely did.
That's how upset and much pain he was in.
Yeah,
and I distinctly
I felt that from the bottom of my feet. That thing went up. I felt all that.
I distinctly remember you running into the house and like collapsing onto the couch and going, ah, like all of that because you were in so much pain. And then you got the surgery in New York, couldn't do anything about it down here in Maryland until, thank God, at the time you played basketball. He played pickup games with an ophthalmologist, y'all, and he just happened to have his card. And I would call the ophthalmologist, and I was like,
you see how God works?
I was like, Dr. Granick, like, can you see him? But mind you, though, that whole night before we could get TJ to the doctor the next day, that told me then in 2012 that I wasn't ready for kids, because I was like, he was waking me up every 2 hours on the hour to put more drops in his eyes.
Well, let's talk about what it is, though. My eye. No, because you're making it seem something like small. My eye was an open wound, and every time that my eye moved during my REM cycle, it brushed up against my eyelid,
and it caused pain.
And it caused the worst pain ever.
I'm not taking that away from you.
No. You're making it sound like it's something so simple.
What I'm trying to say is that your pain tolerance is so low that you are like all over the place when it comes to it. That was all when it was just.
And that only happened.
I'm sorry.
That only happened when my lens came out, though.
But you were still. It happened after your lens came out, yes, but you
were
you were still a little funky when you first got home.
I was still moving around and doing my thing, though.
Point being is that now you
the second time was terrible.
The fast forward, and now we've got Tatum. We've got this toddler that runs our lives, and she still needs her parents, and she still needs me to take care of her and feed her while TJ is sleeping. And I'm like, Daddy's sleeping. And she was even concerned about him. She was like looking at him like, I think she thought he was crying when he put his drops in. But now I have this rambunctious early rising toddler to take care of still, while TJ needs to be taken care of. So I get her dressed. I go to swim class.
What time was swim class?
At 11:30.
Okay.
And so,
what time did I wake up?
4.
Okay.
So I was supposed to just like.
So from 11, you left at like 10 something.
No, I left at 11:15 because you held me up.
So from 11:15 to 4.
I kept her out of the house and out of your way so that you could rest. That's what I did.
Thank God.
And then when he called,
thank God, and
I'm like, "Hey, babe, how you feeling?"
No, actually, no. And that's another thing. I'm glad you said that. I called. Hold on, I just told the film myself. I called, and you didn't even fucking pick up.
My phone was on silent, but then you called.
Your phone was on silent, so yes. you wanted yourself.
No,
though.
I was on silent.
Thank God, my mother-in-law picks up her phone.
It was on silent for like maybe 15 minutes, and he happened to call during that window.
It just so happens.
My phone is never on silent. Your phone is always on silent. So. My mom, he calls my mom. My mom was like, "It's TJ."
Put her phone.
But then she gave me the look, and she was like the look like, "Oh, he come with his bullshit." And so
what bullshit?
And so, but so I call him and I'm back. And I'm like, "Babe, how you feeling? Like, what's going on?" And he was like, "I feel terrible." He was like, "But you're not here, so I guess I'm gonna have to be fine." Oh my god, like all of that.
I didn't do all that.
Yeah, you definitely said that though. You definitely you were all Mr. Like, I feel awful, but I have to just push through because you're not here.
I mean, I had to. So I was all alone.
So then
you left me to,
So I left Tatum with my mother, and I came back home, and I took care of you, and I let you sleep even more, and I was there with your food and your drops and your pain medicine and all that stuff like that. So when you made it down the steps on Sunday morning, I was like, it's a Christmas miracle.
Well, it wasn't really Sunday morning. It was like Sunday afternoon, but
okay, Sunday.
I was getting my bearings again.
Yeah, it was a great thing to see you outside of the confines of our bedroom.
Anyway, so that's my thing. The LASIK was down, but I'm going up.
Okay.
Because I can see kind of better.
Okay.
I don't got pain in my eyes anymore. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows.
You know, and I just want to thank those people who was there for me.
You're welcome.
My mother-in-law.
You're welcome.
My cousin.
You're welcome.
My daughter.
You're welcome.
And I bless their hearts.
Yeah. Okay.
And for those who were, wasn't with me shooting in the gym, my wife,
You got something else.
God is watching over you. Just remember that.
And he knows exactly what I did, and he knows my heart.
Okay.
So anyway.
Well, what is your elevator?
I'm staying up. I said I was in a good mood because this marks the day that we're recording our first official snow day of the school year. So teachers definitely. We look forward to snow days, more than a student ever will. Like, don't ever think that you, as a student, wanted a snow day more than your teacher did. So, and it was like the notice was given in enough time, so I knew I was like, oh, I can stay up late, or I can go to bed, or I can do it, I can sleep in. So that way I wasn't checking my phone at 5 o'clock. I was able to turn off all my alarms. Shout out to Tatum's daycare because they're still open. So I took her this morning so I could have a little bit more time to like chill out and then also like do what I have to do around the house. So, and catch up on my schoolwork. So yeah, I am happy because we had a snow day, and it's
a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Snow days are God's little thank yous to teachers when you need a break. But that's it, and it came off the weekend too, so it was it's like a 3-day weekend, and I'm off this Friday, so I only have a 3-day week. Look at God. So this doesn't always work like that, but I'm excited. But that's my elevator talk for this week. And so now, as always, it's time for us to get into, the relationship tip of the week. Sir, Mr.
You started off.
Mr. Eyeball McGee. I was going to make another different eye reference, but that one's it was kind of morbid.
No, let's hear it.
So originally I was because before we got the surgery, I said you were gonna bird box it the whole time. That's not the morbid one. But then I was gonna call you Houston because I was like, that was really mean. Because remember the singer?
Yeah, he gouged his eyes out on PCP. So
that's why I said it was morbid. It wasn't nice.
Bird box would have been cool,
So okay, so one for two. That's fine.
I had to bird box it since you left me.
Oh my gosh.
Alone, so I did have to put the.
My relationship.
That's honestly how I was able. I was like, listen, let me just put this T-shirt over my eyes. Let me listen to the voices, and then I was able to get through my room.
What voices?
The voices, they guided me.
So that's what my relationship tip of the week is.
What? You didn't even say what it was.
That sometimes, even though you're right, you just gotta swallow your pride because your significant other is in need. So you gotta just kind of grin and bear it.
So it's based off of me.
Yeah, sure.
So I win.
That what? That's fine.
I win.
This one you can have.
Listen. If we're gonna do that, I'm gonna say, in relationships, friendships, whatever, if you want to know how someone really feels about you, get sick.
Yeah.
If you really want to see how much somebody will do for you, be sick, get LASIK surgery, get a root canal or something.
I was there for you when you had that was your wisdom teeth.
I was by myself.
No, you weren't. I was in the waiting room with you.
But I was still by myself.
I can't go back there with you.
All right, then. So don't say you weren't with me in the gym.
Oh, my God.
So that's my tip.
Ladies, understand.
If you truly want to see how much somebody cares for you.
If you want to know if you're ready for a child, have your man get sick and then and see how he acts. And then it's just it's a pretty comparable experience to being
if you want to be shady, you can be shady.
A mother to an infant. That's not you said it's not shady if it's the truth.
That's crazy to me.
I'm using your words.
Because my dream be truthful, you be shady.
Not at all.
But it's all good. Listen. And with that,
we're going to take a quick break. And then we're going to come back with our guest for this episode.
Hey friend, it's time for you to ditch those workout gloves and get the grip and wrist support you deserve. What do you suggest? you need to get the Gainz Load and Lock grips by Gainz Sports Gear. They are more durable than gloves, have a non-slip grip pad that provides grip support and added wrist support unlike your traditional workout gloves, and will protect your hands from calluses. Do they come in different colors? Not only do they come in different colors, but they are available for men and women. Do yourself a favor, go to GainSportsGear.com. And remember, a better grip equals a better lift. Embrace the process.
And you too can embrace the process by using our code Lovers10 at Gainz, Gainz, sportsgear.com. And now, back to the episode.
All right, everybody, and welcome back. Before we actually formally introduce our guest, this was a suggestion that we have received from listeners, is that sometimes when TJ and I have content or conversations with folks that could be considered triggering or maybe not safe for work, sometimes thinking about like our Kings with Kiki or previous episodes, shout out to Kiki, maybe we just wanted to preface ourselves by giving I don't want to call it necessarily a warning, but just like a heads up that the content that we will be discussing in this particular episode could be considered triggering to others if you've been a victim of child abuse, sexual abuse, or assault or anything kind of an in between. So we just wanted to give you that notice, and that way you can make an informed decision if you wanted to continue to listen, or if this is maybe the time where you have to kind of give yourself a moment to step away. But we want to make sure, because we know that some of you guys listen to this in the car, at work, and sometimes it's not the time or the place to listen if it's a topic that is personal or troubling to you. But with that being said, our guest today is Brandon. Say hi, Brandon.
Hey, what's going on, people?
Please ignore TJ. That's him bird boxing it up again. So
Forgive me that I had to put my tears in so my eyes don't dry out, so I don't have to get LASIK again.
it's so passive aggressive. Nah. But Brandon is Brandon, remind me, how old are you again?
24. I'll be 25 next month.
Oh, sorry. I'm old, so I'm 31. Old. So when you like, I'll be 25 next month, I'll be like, that's when you look forward to your birthday. So you're like, I'm 24, but I'll be 25. But okay.
Yeah, when you're as old as she is.
Whatever. So.
Got me a cougar out here.
I cannot stand you. So Brandon is 24, about to be 25. He is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, so he's one of TJ's frat brothers.
The best. It's the best to do it.
The best ever.
My personal fave, sure. So yeah, I can go with that. And
I didn't like that answer.
We are. That was being shady to you through Alpha, but that's fine.
I mean, yeah, shady.
I do love Alpha though.
Shady boots.
Okay. And Brandon was kind enough to come on our show because if you've listened to the last two episodes, a good portion of our topic of our podcast, as well as many other podcasts and just general conversation on social media, has been the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries that aired, I guess going on 2 weeks ago now. Yeah. And speaking just to Lovers Quarrel, TJ and I had areas where we were exactly on the same page, and then there were definitely areas where TJ and I had some shades of gray as far as how we approach or we or respond to the documentary, and also to like how do we respond towards supporting R. Kelly from here on out. With that being said, Brandon has been brave enough and kind enough to come on our show to talk about his own experiences with abuse and growing up, and then also basically we're going to talk about what he's been through, what life is like for him now, and then also, as always, this is a relationship podcast, how his experiences have impacted his relationships or his outlook on relationships. So with that being said, thank you so much, Brandon, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So with that being said, we are going to just kind of jump right in, right? So I figure we'll hit you, you can start hitting us with the headlines. So the beginning, let's start where it began, right? So how old were you, and when the form of abuse that you experienced began, and what kinds of abuse were you going through kind of and feel free to kind of give as much or as little as you feel comfortable doing.
Okay. So I had this, I'll start by saying this. I had this trouble remembering, right?
Okay.
Because I suppressed so much that I could not remember past the age 11.
Okay.
So I knew before the age 11 something was going on. I've been going to therapy every day, but every week, but now it's like almost every other week now because that's how much I've progressed. So I've come to realize, I don't know the exact age, but I know it was before 11.
Okay.
When it happened, it was sexual abuse. It was definitely it was a guy that time. Made me do some things to him in the hallway. It was like a rainy night. I remember it so vividly. And I think that was like the first time that it happened. I didn't know what
you were doing,
what I was doing, what was going on, or anything like that. I was a little kid.
Of course.
He was older, like an older kid, maybe in his teenager at the time. Okay. And I remember I was living in Camp Springs, Maryland at the time, in some apartment complex and everything like that. So that's where the first time it happened that I can remember. And then it was by a babysitter, female babysitter. It happened a little bit later, and then it just happened repeatedly. As I got older, into teenage years, of course, like it kind of affects things like that. And it was a grown man. Same thing happened again, man. And it was like, that was very, it was traumatizing. Now that I look back, it is pretty traumatizing and how I feel about it, because I didn't know. I felt embarrassed, ashamed, and stuff like that. And then I used to date this grown woman, 35 years old. I was 17. I didn't think of it like that at the time because that's something that I wanted. And by that time, that already had happened. Yeah. So and that wasn't the first time I dated, I was 13 years old dating a 20-year-old who already had a child.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm always into older girls, and maybe that could have happened before the age of 11 when it already happened. So naturally, I'm already attracted to older women. So all my experiences became with older women. That's how I naturally was attracted. So 1735, that was something I wanted, but I think that was more like mental. I felt emasculated one night, and she tore me apart, and really made me break down and cry, like in front of a crowd of people, about how I'm not a man, I'm just a little boy and everything like that. Which, I mean, technically I was, because I was 17 years old, still in high school. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of just where it really, all my experiences, as far as experience related, that's where it all kind of began.
Yeah. Well, I think that it definitely kind of like lays down the foundation for this conversation, because one thing that I'm hearing from what you're saying, which is, even though it has not been my own personal experience, I have good friends from high school and from college who have had similar experiences with abuse. And one thing that I think needs to be, which is I think amazing about people telling their story, is it needs to be communicated that a lot of these situations are not like one and done. It's not like, oh, this happens with one time or one person or over, in this time frame of my life. It's a cycle. And then basically it becomes a situation where, I had a friend in high school who was abused by her stepfather, and then it became a thing where even after she was removed from the situation, not he was removed, that she was ending up with like much older men when we were in high school. Like, and at the time I'm like, ew, like, that's like, why? Like, what? Right, like, what is the attraction with somebody so like no, and I mean, because especially in high school, it's like somebody's like 2 years older than you. Sometimes you're like, no, like that's But I think it's important to emphasize that people, once especially once they're abused at such a young age, even if they've suppressed it or blocked it out, become much more susceptible to abuse at late stages in their life. And then sometimes it even looks like by the time you're 17, you're like, oh, this isn't abuse, this is me, I'm dating. Absolutely. No, and you're like, and then when of course hindsight is 2020. When you look back on it, you're like, no, this still wasn't right, because I'm 31. I have nothing in common with a 17-year-old. I don't
Right.
even remember. I have very little in common with my 17-year-old self. Like my, who I was versus, because the way you grow and mature and things like that. So, I just thank you for even laying that out, because I feel like that makes a great explanation or a great foundation for understanding how abuse occurs, and it happens to people multiple times over the course of their lives.
Yeah.
Do you think that with society, like, normalizing it, like, it's always that double standard? Like, if a guy messes with if a young man messes with a older woman, it's like brownie points, like you're the man. And if it's a young woman messing with an older man, it's like, you're disgusting. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You think that helped with saying, like kind of normalizing it with the trauma that you experienced?
I wouldn't say normalize it. I think that it's more so like I think that's just the way we grew up. I think that was almost like a cultural thing. Because a lot of times when you look at all the males and the guy friends that you hang out with, man, an older woman, oh my gosh, man, I want her, man, this older chick, she doing this for me, she doing that for me, and you get kudos for that, right? But you take a female that's the same age messing with an older guy, the same age was that older woman, it's not the same. So why is it not the same? Yeah. And it's more frowned upon amongst, between an older man and a younger woman. But when it's an older woman and a younger guy, why aren't we giving the same treatment? Yeah,
and because it's wrong across the board. But you're right. There's definitely the double standard where there's a badge of honor that goes with like a young man dealing with an older woman, whereas like women young girls or teenager girls who mess with older guys, she could be perceived as being somebody who's like trying to come up, and then he or fast, and then he's looked at
like
as
sugar daddy,
sugar daddy or creep. When really, like, no, this is inappropriate. This is not okay across the board, because there's light years between the level of like maturity. Even if you take the legal ramifications out of it, because we could get into a whole conversation about age of consent and from state to state and stuff like that. But like your 16, 15, 17-year-old self, your brain, the way your entire makeup of who you are is not on the same playing field as a 30-something-year-old person.
Because the age of, even with the age of consent, cognitive development.
It's not there yet.
It's not there.
It's not there yet. That frontal lobe,
it is not there yet.
I talk about that all the time, and like I teach middle school, so I have, my students are all kind of like between 12 and 14, so they're on the kind of the front end of that. So I see the lack of cognitive development all day, every day, which is why I want to like ram my head into a wall, because I'm like, I just told you this. Why did you do this? This doesn't make sense, and it's just like they just not connecting, and sometimes I have to remember that like it's not connecting, not because they don't want it to connect or they're trying to be defiant. Like, sometimes they do, but because it's literally not clicking with them. Like their brain isn't at that point where
they're still learning.
Yeah, some are a little bit more advanced than others, but it ultimately, like, as somebody who deals with children on a regular basis, I see why. Like, that's why they're so impulsive. That's why they make these rash decisions. That's why they're so beholden to their friends' opinions as opposed to that of sound adults. But to kind of get back into your own story, so you've had these like different age brackets where you were abused, and then also by males and men and women.
Yep.
And to the best of your ability, when you for an experience that you can remember, what was like one of your initial reactions? Like, was it an out of body experience? Did you? I know you said you didn't even recognize in the very beginning anything was wrong.
The feelings that I felt: shame, embarrassment, anger, frustration. I think I would use those words and uncertainty, because I did not understand what was happening to me. I couldn't process it. I'm young. I can't process I just know I'm doing it. Why am I doing it? I don't know. It's an older person. Just do what they say. You respect your elders. That's what they say. So you respect the person that's older to you, and you do what they say.
Where did any of those of your abusers like threaten you or say like, you know, you can't tell, or
I wouldn't
if you tell?
I wouldn't say they threatened me. It was more so of a manipulation.
Okay.
It was kind of like it really wasn't like a don't do, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's just kind of like it's weird. Like it was never really explained. It was just kind of like a
unwritten rule.
Yeah, like a unword, like you could tell by the looks in the person's face, like maybe I shouldn't say anything. And of course, as a male, me being a young boy and stuff like that, you know, I'm told, you know, don't show emotions. You got to be tough and all that. So no, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna reach out there because people gonna laugh at me because I think I'm gonna look weak because I'm over here telling people that, you know, oh, I'm gonna get teased for allowing a man to do something to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get teased for that. So I'd rather keep that to myself than to be teased about what happened to me. And you know, and that can go on and on and on. I chose to keep that to myself, but that was unhealthy because that was causing a lot of internal issues within myself.
Of course. Did you? And I know, like, you know, like you said, like, as a man, as a boy, like that stuff is always instilled in young men and really across races, but especially Black people, which is, you know, you're supposed to be these masculine, and anything that might, you know, emasculate you is wrong. You know, showing emotion is wrong.
You don't show tears.
You don't show tears.
Yep. Don't
you
cry.
You don't snitch. You don't this and the other. And
Yep.
But did you? I guess a question I have for you is then, like, did you, if ever, tell someone, and then, or were you ever worried about not being believed?
I just didn't want to tell anybody. Like,
Okay.
Last year I just told my mother.
Okay.
I just told her.
How did she respond?
She cried. She broke down because that happened to her. And she was like, that was the last thing that she would want to ever happen. And so we really had a heart to heart because of that. Because if we would have known that, she said she would have did whatever she needed to do to take necessary action against those people if I would have said something, because like how we just said, didn't believe. So it's not that I didn't think nobody would believe me. It was just the fact that I'm not supposed to cry. I'm not supposed to snitch. Don't say nothing. You know, so that was the biggest thing for me.
I think I kind of want to go touch on another part of it, because what's like sad but amazing about your testimony and about your experience is that it's so common. You know what I mean? Like, and in the sense that this is not a unique situation, which is what sucks about it.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's a good thing, because now that you're sharing it, other people can come forward. And so the part I kind of want to hone in on was particularly your abuse when it came at the hands of a babysitter, because you were not the first young Black guy or Black man, period, that I've talked to who was like, yeah, I lost my virginity to my babysitter. Yeah, I was 11 and she was 16, or I was 11 and she was 20, or something like that. And, you know, more famously, like Charlamagne the God talks about it, like a cousin, uncle's wife or something that was like, you know, abusing him, and he always played it off as like it's what he thought it made him the man and things like that. And you know, it's crazy to me, because it's showing like that. I think there needs to be an emphasis on how many female predators there are out there, just as much as there are men, because it's like and we need to work on changing it from being like this rite of passage, which is what I think earlier generations up until your generation have perceived it as, whereas like, no, this is abuse, because I'm leaving you. I'm sure your mother wasn't leaving you with whomever because she thought that was like, she was like, I need somebody to watch my child.
Right.
And this person's a trusted adult.
Yeah.
And so my, you know, I guess my question for you in that, because I know I'm just kind of talking, but how did you begin to change, or how are you going about trying to change that like mindset? Like how did you go about changing your mindset towards that one, especially because it's society, because you know the abuse at the hands of men against young boys is, you already said, like, there's that, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna speak on that, I'm not supposed to, you know, the homophobia that runs rampant in our community, but so you can see why you would like suppress that, but like with the woman,
I'm bragging about that.
With the babysitter, you know, so like,
I'm bragging about
how
that.
do you, what is it that helps you turn that corner and understanding like, no, that was abuse too?
Therapy.
Okay, I sing his praises all the time. I go
therapy.
Yep.
I think that was the best way I could describe it. I mean, because I wouldn't talk about it, and he pushed my buttons, and I started crying. I started to emote. I had to let all that emotions go. I had to feel. I don't like to feel. So in order to get over that, I had to feel, and it was just like one thing at a time. I think that was the most part, like writing out in my journals, writing a letter, you know what I'm saying, to myself about everything that would happen, everything like that. And a lot of times people say victim, you know, victim of sexual abuse or victim of assault or anything like that. And one thing he said to me was like, that's giving the abuser power. You are a survivor of sexual abuse. You are a survivor of assault. So that's the difference, because you still living, still breathing, still being successful to this day. So I survived that, and that made me stronger. So that made me think like, oh shit, maybe I should change the way I perceive that whole situation. I mean, yeah, it's cool. I thought it was cool, but that's not really what it was looking back and actually remembering those events.
Absolutely.
What prompted you to get therapy?
So it was actually a female that I was dating at the time. I mean, let me backtrack. I've been to therapy before. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was like 14 years old. So coming out of that, like I spent a week in the hospital. It was on my birthday. I was in a hospital on my birthday in a psych ward in Children's in DC. Spent the week there, got out, and I had to go to therapy out there. I didn't like the vibe that I was getting from the therapist. I was like, I don't want to see this lady. And then I was medicated. So they gave me all this medication. I ain't like it. It made me suicidal. I started having bad dreams and all that. I ain't like it. So I stopped for a long time. And then I got back into it because this chick, like I said, fast forward now, this chick I was dating, she was in the field of psychology and everything like that. And she was in school with somebody who already had their master's or whatever that was able to practice therapy. And she was like, I found somebody for you. You need to talk to him. I didn't think much of it. So I went. This was like 2015, 2016, I think maybe. Okay. And then I went, and then I went off because I went back to school. Fast forward to 2017, the fall of 2017. There was a situation that happened. I spazzed on my little cousin one day. Like, it was over the top. People would describe it as a manic episode, which it can get out of hand. And I'm also in school for like therapy as well, like counseling, clinical mental health counseling. So we record sessions. We record sessions and stuff like that, you know, for practice and stuff like that. And I didn't think nothing of it. I'm just talking about, you know, why, like, me going off on my little cousin and everything like that, to my peer or whatever. And then the professors watch it. So the professors pulled me to the side and was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. He was like, well, we seen some things on the tape that was kind of disturbing. I'm like, what do you mean? And it was like that, that violent reaction towards my cousin. That's what, I had to go to counseling. They said, you got to go to counseling. You got to check up with us every week. Your counselor got to send stuff to us every week. This is what it is. And I was like, okay. And I mean, I went to the bathroom, I started crying because I'm like, now I'm being watched 24/7. You know, granted, it's a good program, and they actually, some programs actually make it a requirement for you to go to counseling. But the fact that I'm like, I don't have control. Like, I said, I'm glad they still let me go to school, but now I gotta report to my professors every week. I mean, so I contacted the my counselor that I was going to, and so we got in touch. And fall like towards the end of 2017, all the way up until now, is where I really start to do the work on myself, and that's what really kind of got me into the therapy thing. It was really going to a counseling program, you know what I'm saying, that got me back into going to counseling.
I mean, and that, I think it's good, and I think this is so important that they said that to you, because, you know, I'm imagining that because of your experiences, because your history, you're trying to be of service to others by getting, you know, going to school for counseling and therapy. But at the same time, it's like, you know, what they always say, like, you're no good to anybody else unless you're good with yourself. So I think that, you know, and I feel like that could have gone a whole other different direction had, you know, if when your teachers are like, so in order for you to kind of keep up with this, you're gonna need to like go yourself. And absolutely, and I think it's a nod to you, a nod to your professors to recognize that, to call it out, and then for you to be able to want it back, to want to do the work bad enough that you're like, okay, I'm gonna do what they ask, and then seeing that like it's been a help to you.
It was the best decision I could ever make. I quit my job. I took a semester off from school, everything, to solely work on myself. And that, looking back, that like I said, that was the best decision I could ever possibly make, man. Because without that one small incident, I didn't think it was a big deal. I really did not think it was a big deal. But as experienced professionals, they saw that. They saw through that. And so without that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
True. Did you sorry, let me back up. As far as the therapy is concerned, what would you say to someone who is considering it for whatever reason? Like, I started going more regularly to see a counselor since last June because I was coping with like the death of my father, which happened pretty quickly in 2017. Plus, I mean, you know, I had a newborn, or an infant, I should say, my marriage, my school, my job, and then I'm in school. So I was like just juggling a lot. But if you could, for somebody who might be out there that is listening to this, who has also gone through even whatever amount that might resemble what you've been through, like, what would you say to them as far as like if they're considering it like therapy, but they're a little on the fence about it?
You just gotta go. You just gotta go to it. But not only that, when you're looking for a counselor, therapist, whatever, make sure that person fits you. It's okay to try. I mean, you don't want to go out and try everyone because, you know, sometimes it's about the money.
Of course.
But you do your research before you go out there. You know, see what that person is all about, because you definitely want to choose the right therapist for you. Because, like I said, when I was younger and I went, it was like some Asian woman. I'm like, who's this? She don't look like me.
Yep.
No. But where now I'm talking to an older black male that's a doctor in the field that I want to pursue. It's more relatable and I feel more comfortable to talk, you know. So try to find somebody that you would feel comfortable talking to, because that's, I mean, to me, it's just talking things out. And sometimes you gotta need that human diary to talk to and vent to and kind of guide you into the right direction. Because all the work that my therapist and I have done is really my work. I'm doing it. He just assisted in bringing those to light. When really it was within me the whole time. I just needed help putting tools in my toolbox to make sure when I go out there and I experience certain things, I know how to handle it. So my message is just find somebody comfortable with you and don't be afraid. It's nothing wrong with going to counseling and going to therapy.
Not at all.
It is nothing wrong with that at all. You know, a lot of people put some bad stigma towards it. No, it's not wrong. It's nothing wrong with it. You're not gonna be looked down upon anything like that.
Exactly. When you're
it's
sick,
there to
you go
better
to the
yourself.
doctor, right?
Yeah, when you sick, you go to the doctor.
So why? If
it's your
like,
mental health.
Yeah,
you know
or you get checkups. You go at least, very least, you go once a year.
It's not always when you sick.
Yeah, and it's not always.
You go to the dentist to get your teeth cleaned
Every 6 months.
You know,
Yeah.
And it's not like people got it like, oh, something had like, okay, so I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. You do not have to have a diagnosis just to go to therapy.
Not at all.
If you just stress and you want to go talk, go to therapy. You know what I'm saying?
Preach.
That's all you got to do.
I think the major thing is times are changing.
Yeah.
And because times are changing, things are becoming more susceptible. Acceptable, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's becoming like, okay, like our generation goes to therapy. Our generation is in tune with their feelings. Whereas, you know, the older generation was kind of like, you know, say nothing.
What happens in this house?
Yeah, what
in this house?
I mean, but that's like a generational thing.
It is.
Yeah. It's like a slave mentality.
We don't talk about it. We ain't gonna do it. None of that.
You don't bring that out. You don't. No one knows. No one needs to know about what happens in this house, and that is just the trauma of just keeping that bottled in. So I think that's a major thing. You know, I've gone to a therapist. You know, when I was going through my dark times. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. And, you know, I think everyone should kind of speak about it and be open.
And don't be afraid, man. A lot of people are afraid or feel ashamed.
And we got to teach our kids that it's okay.
Yeah, because
it's okay.
When we have a lot in common. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying earlier about it's more common. It's this sexual abuse thing on men. It's pretty normal. It's not a unique.
Absolutely.
It's not rare. It happens all the time. And this is the first time I'm like speaking publicly about it, or you know, like on social media or whatever. But the conversations I had before leading up to this point about going more public with it is like when I open up about it around other people, they're like, "Well, yeah, man, that happened to me too."
And you're like, there you go.
There you go. And it's like a multiple black men that I, and it's not just black men, it's men period. But, I'm speaking on behalf of black men. Like, this really happens more than what I initially thought.
Yeah.
Because when it happened to me, I'm like, is this only just me? When it comes to find out, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I feel like people in general who are survivors of abuse, sometimes, especially black men, don't speak on it because you think that you're on this island by yourself, and nobody wants to feel like they're the only person that went through something, because you either feel like, okay, well, what is wrong with me that I allow this to happen to myself, or something like that, where come to find out, it's like, no, this was done to you. You were not old enough. You did not consent. This was not okay. And it's okay to have these unresolved feelings, to have but you feel there's safety in numbers, and there's a sense of security in knowing that, like, okay, I share this experience with somebody, even though it's an awful fucked up experience, but to know that I'm not the only one is sometimes brings like a glimmer of like relief to, I feel like, to people. And so I with that being said, I kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit, because you talked about how you are more now just becoming more public and more open about this very personal experience that you've had over the course of your young life, basically, because again, you're 24, and how you are a member. First of all, you went to college, right?
Yep.
You're a member of a fraternity,
yep.
And so, let's keep it a buck. Greek life, there is a lot of rampant homophobia. There's a lot of like macho, like, machismo, masculine stereotypes that float through in general. And I'm not going to just put it on just one org or anything like that. So with that being said, like, your line brothers, your chapter brothers, your frat brothers in general, how was that experience in like starting that process of beginning to share? Like, did you just come out and say it, or did it come up in conversation?
I ain't bring it up.
Okay.
I didn't bring it up. I recently started to bring it up because I was like, I don't trust nobody.
Okay.
I don't trust no man. I don't trust no man, no woman because of what happened to me. Why am I gonna trust these dudes right here? Mm-hmm. What's the point? What's the purpose? But at the same time, I was still growing, and I was trying to get out of that mindset. So on one half, it's like, come on, bro, you stick to what you know, be comfortable. I had to step outside my comfort zone, in doing that because now I'm sharing with other black men, and which is something that I wanted to do. I just didn't have that connection. You know what I'm saying? So that was just me putting myself out there. And as I became more comfortable with everybody, that's when I became more comfortable. Well, first of all, I had to be comfortable with myself. Once I became more comfortable with myself, then I became more comfortable with other people to talk about what happened to me. And it wasn't just like I just brought it up. It just be like situations that happened, just like the for instance, 2 weeks ago, Kelly's situation. Like when stuff like that pops up,
that's when it kind
of like hearing other people's perspective and what they think and what they talking about. Then that's when I feel the need to say something. And that's kind of how the conversations just go. I don't just meet somebody, hey, how you doing? I'm Brandon. All the A, B, C, D.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of come up, you know, and I just really feel the need to just speak on behalf of it because, like I said, I am a survivor of it, and people try to downplay what happens to men.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to have a face to that stuff because when you don't, sometimes, and I think that's a part that like TJ and I kind of argued about too, or I shouldn't say argue, but like we quarreled or we had a different opinion on, is that sometimes people need to like know somebody or to have put a face to it because when it's on TV or it's you read about it in the news or whatever, like there's still that disconnect, and that's natural. That's for anything. Like that could be somebody being murdered. That could be some like all these horrible things that happen in the world. You can look at it from afar and be like, oh, that's awful. But because it hasn't impacted somebody that you know or impacted you directly, that it becomes harder for people to really understand or to see like there's, you know, the face or the face of someone who's a survivor. And I guess, so now what I want to ask then is like, okay, so Survivor and R. Kelly came out and I'm like I said, it's been the topic of conversation amongst our communities for the last like 2 weeks. And we're seeing still like the ripple effect of the docuseries and stuff. So people, of course, I'm sure in group chats across the country are sharing giving their 2 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents or whatever. And then, you know, you say, well, actually, this happened to me. How, in general, like, how were you received? How was that revelation to some people? Because it was probably news to them. Because now it's like, okay, I know Brandon. He's my friend. He's my frat brother. He's my LB. He's my homeboy. Like, you know, I'm not just speaking about alphas. Just like friends in general. You know, people that know you but didn't know this about you. When it comes up and you begin that process of saying like, hey, no, this happened to me. This is why this is fucked up. This is what this looks like. Like, how was that received to the people that do care about you?
Oh, they were shocked. Mm-hmm. How people were shocked because they like, what, you, Mr. Macho? Like, what? Mm-hmm. You know, because I'm not. I would say I'm not like aggressive, but I'm very assertive, and I'm like I rarely smile. Sometimes, you know, I can laugh and joke and play and stuff like that, but I'm always about my business when it comes to it. And so I guess just to see that happened to me, they was like, I never, like, people were really shocked like that it was happening to me. But then they also, you know, they commend me for it because they knew not a lot of people are strong enough to admit what happened and to express how they feel about what happened to them and express, especially like for a man to admit, man, nah, another man did this to me. Like, no guy's really gonna
it's not, you know,
admit that.
You're not gonna broadcast that. Like,
no, especially with your name on it and everything, you know, with your name, face, knowing that a lot of people are watching and maybe going to share it or whatever and tell other people about it, you know, but I was glad to see of the feedback that I did get because people actually, you know, like I said, they commended me for it and they was like, keep pushing, keep going through it. My therapist actually, he was just like I said, like I was telling you guys earlier, he was just like the week or two before I actually put it out on Facebook, social media and everything like that, he was like, you should start going public. And I forgot how it came up, but I was just like, why should I go public? Like, babe, what's going on? He was like, man, just go public. And then here we are later. I'm starting to talk about it more and more now.
Yeah, and this is, I agree with him. I think it's so important. Like, people don't want to talk about it. People are comfortable, and that's their business, and that's their right. But I think the more people talk about it, the more people talk about it, the more well received it'll be, and then things will start to change.
Yeah.
Because you can't fix what you don't know.
Yeah.
Agreed. With the abusers, did any of them go to jail?
Nah, because I never said anything.
Okay. Were any of them like family members?
I can't.
Or just like friends of the family?
Probably like friends of the family. I can't really.
Okay.
I don't remember if it was a family member. I think I would remember if it was or if it wasn't.
Okay.
But mainly it was. It's that's the crazy thing. It's gonna be somebody that you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy that did it to me. This man was singing at my uncle's funeral.
Wow.
And I realized that, and that clicked in my mind. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that was gonna be my next question. Like, have you seen any of your abusers since being?
Oh yeah. I'm like, and then oh man, this dude text me like he found my number
Really?
and hit me up and was like, "What's good?" And I'm like, "What? Who this?"
Wow.
And he was like, "This is Brandon. This is Brandon Rivers." And I was like, "What you want?" He was like, "We were supposed to work together." And he was like, "I'll give you another hint. You busted 2 big nuts." Blah, 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 blah. I said, "Young, get off my phone, you creep."
Oh,
I was like,
my
"I was a
God.
child." He was like, "No, you were a grown man." I said, "No, I had a body of a grown man. I was a child."
Oh, my
he was like,
God.
"But you came to me. You sent me pictures." No, you manipulated me.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You manipulated me to get that. You know, because, I wouldn't say we're poor, but we needed some money. So I was at the point where, like, I need to do what I gotta do to get some money. And so he told me, like, I want to do porn. He was like, "Yeah, I'm a porn manager. Oh, but by the way, you gotta do this, this, and this." I'm like, "Man, whatever." And so he was like, "Yeah, send me pictures and all that." And then I'm like, "Wait a minute, no, I'm not getting no money. What are women I'm supposed to be meeting?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No." And so, young, I handled it very well. Cause my normal reaction for him to hit me up and be like, "Yeah, the last time we were supposed to work together. Last time I seen you at your uncle," I would have lost it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Come see me." It took every ounce of my soul not to go meet him, to kill him. I wanted to do harm, and I knew if I go do that, I'm gonna be in jail.
Yeah.
And I would have been fine with that. But then if I would have did that, that would have stopped every progression that I made because of that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I screenshotted all the messages and everything. I still have them saved on my phone. Because I said, "Young, you contact me, I'm going to call the police."
Absolutely.
Thirst don't scare me. Then he tried to flip the script. "You lied to me. You came to me. You sent me pictures."
And that's that master manipulator type shit.
Yeah.
Which now that you're older and you're wiser, and like you said, you have the tools in your toolbox that you know how to cope with that stuff. But then you rewind it 6, 7, 8 years, however many, 10 years, and that version of Brandon who was a child
that would have fell for that.
I'm
not going for that.
Exactly.
No.
And I think that's like, I mean, again, I wish we could, like, sometimes y'all could see our faces because, like, my jaw hit the floor when he started saying that, and because it's just like the audacity, like the gall.
He was confident
that people do, but that ties into like that whole surviving R. Kelly shit, which is like this motherfucker was picking up girls outside of court, like you on trial, my nigga, for sexual abuse of a child. And you're preying on teenage girls outside the courthouse.
Right.
Like, and that's that warped mentality. And it's just like, and the thing is like, it's that, and that's one of my issues too, is like, the people, all the peanut gallery with all their 8 million opinions where they're like, there's the people out there like, "Oh, where their parents, where they're this, that, and the other, where's, excuse me, they were like, "Oh, they were being fast, this, that, and the other." Like, I would never part my lips to be like, "Well, where was your mom during all of this," whatever. Because my thing is, this is like, if you're looking at teenagers, there's a level of autonomy that teenagers have. They move. There's hours of the day that go by that you're not up under your parent, and even or after school and things like that. And then, and even on the smallest degree, teenagers, they get secretive. They, they're all in their feelings. They don't want to share anything.
Right.
So
Nobody understands.
Nobody
them.
understands me. This and the other. So they don't necessarily come forward with that type of stuff. Now, but then with that being said, you have people like your abuser, like R. Kelly, who see that stuff and then will swoop in, and turn it all around.
And they found an angle to manipulate this person, and to make things go in their favor. Yeah. So that way they can be like, "Nah, you did everything you did. You wanted to do. I had nothing to do with that."
And that's so typical of a predator. That is like predator 101. And I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything like that, but one thing I like always heard and learned growing up. So like my dad, for the entirety of my life, and so he retired in 2014. He worked for probation, but then he worked for state parole, and he specifically worked in the special offenders unit for a long period of time. So, we're from New York, and my dad had to deal with basically all of the rapists, child molesters on parole on the island of Manhattan. So you can only imagine how many there are. And I mean, these are the ones that are caught. Like, these are the ones that are on parole who have been caught and prosecuted. So, my dad raised my sister and I, like, to almost like be mindful of these things and to look out for these things. Like, don't let nobody ask. Like, I don't know why this is popping into my head, but I went to Catholic school growing up, and I had to wear a uniform, right? And so we were in line at Popeyes, and I was ordering the food because I'm like 12 or 11, 12 or whatever. And so my dad is like in the restaurant, but he doesn't have to be right next to me. And so I was walking up to order the food, and a man walked up to me and was like starting to talk to me. And in my mind, I'm like, he's a little skeevy, but I'm like, they teach girls you have to be polite, right?
Right.
And so I'm being polite, but then he like kind of puts his hand on my shoulder, and that's when my dad steps in, and he's like, no, this is not happening or anything like that. And it's those small things, because at the same time, like I vividly remember like sidestepping to get away from him, because he was making like the conversation that was had, I can't remember what it was, but it was so surface. It was so like, it wasn't like, where do you go to school or anything like that. It was just like, how you doing? Da-da-da. But like, why are you taking interest in me? I have on a school uniform.
Right.
Which is
why
like,
are you talking to me?
Why are you talking to me? And because my dad wasn't standing right next to me, you thought it was open. It was fair game.
He thought you was alone.
You thought it was open season on me, because I'm using your words against you.
No, but
that's not that's not the same way.
In the wrong context.
It is the wrong context, but that was the point. Fair game was a phrase that he and I argued about. But point I'm trying to make is like, these predators, they look for any and every opportunity. And my thing was, I was 11 years old, but I developed early, so I might have looked like I had the body of a woman, but that doesn't mean I had the mind of one. Right. So like that, I totally understand, as far as from the perspective of just seeing other people experience it, like, and watching the documentary and stuff like that. People do that shit all the time. Yeah. And I'm tired of people coming out and like trying to blame the survivors. I'm tired of people trying to like, now don't get me wrong, there are some trash ass parents out here who are not doing their due diligence. Yeah. But that's not everybody. And that's not to say that, and that still doesn't negate the fact that even if a parent isn't as watchful as they should be, or maybe they're, as in R. Kelly's case, they're caught up in the limelight of it all too, that doesn't excuse the fact that he is a predator and that he is abusing girls. And and so I think the fact that your abuser reached out to you is just like another like nail in the coffin, and just proving that like these people are out here, they're doing it every day, and they're gonna come back around, and they're gonna try to flip the script on you all the time. They're gonna they gaslight you, and they make you feel crazy.
And so like the craziest thing he said was like, you sent me those pictures and videos. I said, dude, that's child pornography. Mm-hmm. I was a kid. Mm-hmm. That's child pornography. You gonna get in trouble for that.
Exactly.
I got documentation. Mm-hmm. Threats don't scare me. Call the police. Okay, you gonna get in trouble. Yeah. Not me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just little things like that, man. It's just, it's tough to deal with, but I'm glad I did the work on myself, because I've responded in a good way. Yeah, absolutely. And so now I got documentation that this is what he said. Mm-hmm. And so the only reason why I didn't press the issue is because I got too much going on, like successful wise. Like I don't have time. I'll deal with it. I'll look into the law to see what's the age range and all
And
that.
statute of limitations.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. So that way, when I am ready to deal with it, I'll just deal with it. Like, I'm not afraid to deal with it. I just don't have the time to be in and out of court and doing all this
That's fair.
kind of stuff at the moment. But me saying that in itself, that's still letting him off the hook. You get what I'm saying? Like, even with that statement, that's you see
and
how
you
things
should, because
and see how things easily, like, people that are predators that haven't been caught. These are one of these situations where it's like people just ready to be over or done and deal
it's
with
hard
it.
to revisit that stuff.
Yeah,
it's hard, and like you said, like you're thriving and you're doing so well that it's like, damn, do I really want to revisit that, or like you said, like, I don't have the time right now. Like, I mean, and it's, but I'm glad that you said that, like, you know, that you will, and I definitely encourage you to, because if he's doing this to you,
how many other young boys he doing it to?
There's no question that
question.
It ain't begin to end with you.
No.
And so it's just like, you know, saying and doing that could be, and putting that out there, and even though it causes you to have to revisit things and you to have to speak on things that are not easy for you to speak on, it will put somebody either at the very least on notice that they're being monitored now, because you have all this proof and this evidence, and maybe stop him from doing it to someone else, because that's what we really have to work on. We need to work on ending these cycles of abuse that are happening.
Yeah, and it's not only that. It's I think personally, I think it's more so of so when people come forward, they be like, well, my parents don't believe me. We got to start believing
Our children.
I mean, we get sometimes they might make up some stories, but like, that's not no, like, hey, somebody touched me this way. Why would you make something like that up? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because of your own, as the parent, just because of your own belief, like, oh, nah, this my significant other. Ain't no way that this person would do this to my child. Mm-hmm. Why you gonna take that side? Your child was there before that person was there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, start believing in the children. You know what I'm saying? Because don't no child make that stuff up, and communicate with your children. I mean, granted, they might be young, they might not get it, but you can put it in a way to, like, hey, you know, something never happens. Like, I know I'm gonna let my kids know something never happens. You can always talk to daddy.
Yeah. Good touch, bad touch, all that.
Yeah, good touch, bad touch. You let daddy know.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I will believe you.
Yeah, that's one thing that, like, even, like, again, Tatum is not even 2, but I feel like one small thing that we do is, like, even when we bathe her, like, we talk about her body parts, like, anatomically correct. Like, we're not going to make up names for vagina or for butt or for anything like that, because, like, that's, again, and I think, too, this is something that I feel like we both kind of been doing that, and we grew up knowing it, but I specifically remember kind of, like, my parents being like, sometimes predators will, and, like, if this is, like, when you're really young, or maybe, like, the age before you can really, like, even remember what happened to you, people will use other names, or if something happens to you, because when they ask you about it and they say, did somebody touch your penis or your vagina, if you don't call it your penis or vagina, you're gonna say no. Yeah. Even though that's, because, you know, people make them nicknames.
Because they call it something.
You know, because, like, all their little,
or something like that.
And it's just like, no, this is what we're gonna call it, because you need to understand what this is, and you need to be able to identify your body parts and understand what those, like, touches are. And it's such a scary feeling too, as a parent, because we have this little, you know, this person that we love, like, we would die for, and, you know, sometimes I think about it now, like, she's in daycare now, which is fine, but then I think when she gets older, now she's in, like, real school, and, like, there's that gradual release that happens as your child gets older, and they have to start fending for themselves in, like, small ways,
right?
And I try not to let it, like, keep me up at night, but I do worry about it sometimes, where I'm like, making sure that she's safe, but then when there's times where I can't be there to make sure she's safe, I just want to make sure that she knows that she can come to us.
Charlamagne talks about that. It's like children anxiety or something like that. I can't.
He goes to parental paranoia.
Yeah, parental paranoia.
Separation.
That's
anxiety.
what he has.
Oh, I definitely have that.
Yeah, his is definitely worse than mine. Like, I'm more relaxed, but
yeah. So listen, I'd rather be paranoid than not be than be lax, and then something happens.
Fair.
I mean, granted, anything can always happen, but I'd rather be overprotective in that situation and feel like I've done everything, as opposed to just be like, oh, this would never happen to her, because
Again,
we live in a vicious world where things happen.
and parents with the best of intentions and the, you know, don't, things still happen. Like, just things happen.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, you can't be there all the time. You have, like, when they talk about it takes a village, it does take a village. And even though you might vet everybody in your village to the best of your ability, there's sometimes people who sneak in, who, you know, come under, you know, a wolf in sheep's clothing, who come in and then prey on your child, because even though it's just like, I look to you as somebody who is helping me, because I can't do everything by myself when it comes to children, and no one can. And if you come in and you capitalize on my need for support, like, that's a violation. It's another violation. It's not as obviously as bad as the violation of being preyed upon, but there's like such a ripple effect, I feel like, because
I think that's what makes them the predator.
Yeah,
they're looking for the opportunity. They're looking for the things, you know. They may be cool for the first few months, but they see, okay, mom's not paying attention here, or you know, dad's not paying attention here, so I can sneak in here. And you know, they build a great relationship with that child.
The kid starts venting to that person, and then they there for comfort, and then next thing you know, that child is in that unfortunate situation.
Mm-hmm. It's almost scary. I'm not even not saying almost. It is scary how methodical and how, like, secretive and how, like, conniving these people are, because it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen, you know, like you said, like more times than not, people who are survivors of abuse it's done by people that they know, either acquaintances or family friends or family members.
Yep, absolutely.
It's very rarely just you getting snatched up off the street, or you know, you're getting held up in a hallway or something like that. So the way that people creep into your lives and then to just rock your lives, your world to its core, is just, like, dumbfounding to me, honestly.
How has the trauma affected your, like, dating? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit as far as, like, looking for older women. Yeah. But does it, like, do you still only look for older women, or is it like, now that you've, you know, been getting therapy, you kind of...
So I still look for older women, just not women my mama's age. Gotcha. And it's still like that, oh, well, at least she's like 5 years older, 6 years older kind of thing. So it's weird, because it's like, I know the reason why, but yet I'm still doing it. You know, it is like, I don't want to go too younger, because then I'm going to feel like I'm a predator now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like different ways. Like we was talking earlier about how the survivor or victim can become the predator in itself. And I was like, I don't want to date nobody too young, and then date somebody my age. But then I got this mentality where, like, people my age don't really understand me. I need somebody more experienced to know what and how to deal with me. So I search for somebody older. And it's just weird how I still gravitate towards that, knowing the reason why I gravitate towards older women.
Have you seen an improvement in your relationships? I don't know if you've been in, like, a relationship or been dating since, like, you've been going to therapy more intensively. Have you seen a difference in, like, your role as, like, a partner in a relationship since before, like, pre-therapy versus at post-therapy?
I would say I have become... I communicate a little bit more. I communicate a little bit better now. Where it's just like, I would do something and I'm like, no explanation. Or it's just like, my thought process at the time didn't make sense. Like, it was like dating with me, it's always like a gray area. It's like, yeah, we can be cool. I'm gonna let you know that I'm dating somebody else as well. But it's like, it's up to you. And that causes problems, because then when you get involved with a person, they be like... And then when you do something else, they be like, why are you doing that? I was like, well, remember what I told you in the beginning. Like, I told you what it was. And so I know that causes a lot of problems. So I try to be as straight up, like, that way it's no gray areas or anything like that. So I try to keep it upfront and honest and stuff like that. But it was definitely hard, because I'm like, man, what? One woman? What? No. Nah. I don't trust nobody. No. for what? So I'm out here, I'm doing this for me. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do with who.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying I'm going all buck wild and crazy now, just sticking my thing up in everybody. But, you know, it's just like, it's real, it's real difficult. It still is difficult. I'm not, I guess I was dating, but then I like completely stopped dating because why am I searching for something right now? I got too much to focus on myself.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Because now it feels like I'm dating, but I'm trying to fill a void. What void am I missing? Really, it's not really. I'm not missing a void, or maybe because it's people like pushing, like, man, you starting to get older. Like, a couple of my friends are actually as young as we are. They're actually, some of them actually married with children, or some of them have children already. And I'm just like, everybody waiting on me. I'm like, keep waiting.
Yeah.
I mean, society has its way of pushing its thoughts of what you should be doing, and I think sometimes we get stuck in that. Sometimes, you know, like when I gotta graduate, I gotta be making this amount of money, and I gotta have this career, and and not really understand that, like, you can take your time. Like, it's a race. And everybody can win the race. It's just everybody wins it at their own pace. But you can go crazy trying to match your friends or match what society wants for you.
That was the biggest thing I had to learn. It was like, it's a process. Things take time. It's just sticking to the process. You know, I know what I need to do. I know how I want to go about it. I just have to keep going and not get sidetracked from that. I mean, if I go off course, I need to get right back. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna have my downs. I mean, life. That's life. Life is gonna hit you. You're gonna have setbacks. But how do I get right back on track and keep going and sticking to this process? And that was like the hardest thing for me, going at my own pace. But once I realized, like, no, I'm gonna do it when I want to do it. When Brandon wants to do something, Brandon is gonna do it, and this is the pace that I'm gonna go at. And I've been much happier ever since.
I think it's really important to do that, because what's the point in involving yourself and involving somebody else in your whole in your space, in your energy, in your life, if you're not in the headspace or in the heart space, whatever you want to call it, to be like a quality partner. And like, I think it's important, like what you said about working on yourself, because you want to be the best version of yourself for someone else. Because when that time comes and you do find the person that you want to spend your life with, or, you know, and then have kids with, and, you know, you want to make sure that you've resolved or addressed as many of your own issues as possible. And then also too, like, even, you know, everything that we've talked about aside, like, you want to be further along professionally. Maybe you want to have your own, you know, as far, your own as far as like a home or anything else. So it's all the regular stuff, but then on top of it, you have the added layer of having to reconcile your past with your present and your future. Because, and I think it's like, you've been going to therapy intensively or regularly for like the last like year and a half or so, which is a long time, but then in the grand scheme of things, it's not a long time. It's still, you know, and you're just now starting to go public with it. You're just like, you're at the tipping point of really, I think, reaching another, like, leveling up with, like, coping with being able to, you know, handle what's happened to you and doing it in a positive and in an effective way. But to push your, like, don't, you know, I agree with, like, don't continue to not let people, like, push you into, like, oh, why you not dating, why you just, and be like, nah, I'm good right now, like, because you need that time in order to be the best Brandon possible, because you deserve that for yourself, and then whoever you end up with deserves that. And
it's not only that, because I understand that I'm not going to be perfect. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, I need to be perfect and then I'll start dating, because I'll never have anybody, because I'm never going to be perfect.
Nobody is.
I just want to be 100% comfortable with myself to share my life with somebody else.
Gotcha.
And as I'm getting more comfortable, I know I'm not ready, but once I become, you know, about 80-90% comfortable to share my life with somebody else, because then there's no secrets. I can share whatever I want to share without no judgment, no nothing, without like, hey, no second guessing. Or if I do something, I'm like, oh my, you know, I can apologize and own up and be accountable for what I said or did. Be like, this is the reason why, you know, and kind of express that and communicate with that person so it doesn't happen again.
Do you fear that? Do you fear that, you know, you you get in a relationship with somebody, you let them know about your past, and they use it against you?
Oh, I used to, man.
Okay.
I used to a lot. Like, that was the biggest thing. Like, nah, I don't want to open up. I don't want to commit. I don't want to do none of this. Because how are they going to perceive me?
Mm-hmm.
How that was the biggest thing. Like, how are people going to perceive me? I'd rather people to perceive me as the guy who don't smile and very serious all the time. I'd rather have that than to be like, oh, he was sexually abused by a man, he gay.
Mm-hmm.
When really, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gay. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That happened to me. Okay, so what? It was an unfortunate event. Did I question my sexuality? Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was an experience with a man that I never had before.
Yeah.
So naturally, I was curious, but that's not what I want.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
That ain't me.
And when that happens to somebody at such a young age, like that's par for the course. Like that's to be. I feel like that's to be expected. That if you are abused and you don't at the time, like you're not necessarily, even if you don't recognize it as abuse, or even if you do, but then I think sometimes too, like we have to realize that, like, you know, our minds and our bodies are still sometimes two separate entities. So even if you're having a physical reaction to things that are being done to you or that you're doing to others, but it's under the guise of abuse, like that doesn't mean that all of a sudden now this is your sexual orientation. Or this is,
absolutely.
There's a so very different, and it's just like you. And so it's natural and normal to have those questions and to wonder about yourself, because now you're like, okay, well, if this happened to me with somebody of the same sex as me and my body had a physical reaction to it, does that mean that I enjoyed it? No, that doesn't mean you enjoyed it. It just means your body had a physical reaction to it.
It's a natural reaction. I was being stimulated.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that is what I think people need to understand, is like, that's not just because even when women are raped, and if she had an orgasm, even if she was raped, it's like, but she was still raped. Like, even if she had a physical response to it, does not negate the fact that this was done against her will or without her consent.
Right.
And that applies to men, and that applies to whomever the abuser is, male or female.
Right.
And I think that part really needs to be driven home, because what the issue is, like, there should be the space for you and anyone who's been anything through what you've been through to figure that out on their own, without having to worry about being stigmatized, being ostracized from communities, being questioned, being judged, because you have to be given the space to start to figure that out. And when you come to your conclusion, then that's what we're going with, and then that's it.
And I think that being comfortable and confident is the two biggest things. Because like, it happened to me. I did question myself. Like, you ain't gonna check me. Mm-hmm. So what? I ain't gay.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
Yeah.
You just wanna stop being my friend because that happened to me?
Yeah. And I think it's important too that, like,
I think you have to have a level of open-mindedness.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people don't.
Nope.
Like, when I came to Maryland in 2006, it was like really homophobic. Like, everything was like
everything
super like pause.
Yeah.
That's gay. And coming from New York, it was like when I was in 7th grade, my 8th grade, my 7th grade, but it would be my cousin's 8th grade, their teacher was gay. Like, that was my introduction to that. I remember when I was younger, there was a kid, he was a boy, and then 4 years later, he was a woman. Right. You know what I mean? So seeing those things never like tripped me out.
Right.
But coming down here, I can see why someone may not tell how they feel or express what's going on, because the society is so
because you coming from a different area, you have a non-biased opinion. Mm-hmm. That's not the social environment that you was in. So naturally, when you come down here, everybody's like, wait, pause. Like, you can't even say, like, you can't even have a hot dog. You know what I'm saying? You eat a hot dog, like, oh, you getting a glizzy, or go, like, you can't even be eating a hot dog. You know what I'm
saying? For that, so this is when I become what's your favorite word?
A contrarian.
This is when I become a contrarian. I would do something because I want someone to say something. Like I'm not gonna say pause. I'm not gonna say no homo. Like, I'm a grown man. Like,
right. And you comfortable with yourself?
I'm comfortable. So
what But you
like,
need
I'm
to
eating
say no
banana the way
for.
I'm eating a banana. I'm not gonna
Right.
do it to be funny or anything like that. But I just think that, you know, that's the major thing that we got to push forward and teach, you know, continue teaching, like being open, being understanding. Like, things happen,
Right.
and because it happens, you shouldn't be like the outcast. You shouldn't be like
Absolutely.
pointing fingers and laughed at or whatever. Like, you went through something traumatic. The fact that you're able to still stand and still and kind of be an advocate for the survivors, that's brave.
Yeah.
That's major.
I'm always defeating the odds.
Yeah, and I think it's important too that we make sure that, like, I want to make sure that it's said, like, on this podcast too, is that number one, like, we have to break the stereotype or the stigma that comes along with, like, associating homosexuality or anything that's not just like being straight with it being abnormal or abusive or anything like that. Like, these things are not like in tandem with each other. Now, does same-sex abuse happen where it's a male assaulting a young man? Absolutely. Or a woman doing it to a young girl?
Right.
Or whatever. Absolutely. But that we need to make sure that there's a differentiation between the two, because
between two people trying something and exploring, or
versus
what they like,
being
and
preyed
someone
upon,
being forced to do something,
exactly,
or
and
manipulated.
and that even if a person, is gay, straight, like whatever it is, because. And I know that, like, if you add that layer of abuse in, there's a lot of things that you question about yourself. There might be things that you question as far as your sexuality is concerned. But whatever the outcome may be, that it's okay. Whatever it is that you whatever it is, I don't want to say decide, but whatever it is that you realize about yourself that a person is, then the conversation is over. It, like, to me, it's like,
I think it typically takes people to have to go through it to change.
Yeah.
Like, they have to, like, you know,
You gotta feel.
they got to be like someone could be the biggest homophobe, and then it's their child.
Yeah.
You can't be, you know what I mean? Like, most of the time, that's when the change happens. Like,
hopefully, yeah.
that's why I said most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's how it always works, but
Of course.
But typically, people change their tunes. I mean, it's kind of like what you were saying with the R. Kelly thing. People change their tunes when it's when it affects them personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can all be like whatever.
Because
you
it's
know?
not a close connection.
Yeah, but once it becomes a close connection, now your thought on the process change. Now you look at it differently, because it's like, oh shit,
This is my relative.
Yeah.
This is my
This
friend.
close to home now.
Yeah.
So now it's a problem.
It's my child. It's my.
Yeah.
Of course, it's everybody. Everybody always sings a different tune when it's somebody that they know or that they're close to.
Yeah.
So, kind of, one of my questions, because like I started the conversation saying how, TJ and I had definitely like quarrels and we kind of had different sides with the whole R. Kelly thing. So where the differences came in, because we both agreed he's trash, he's a predator, he's a monster, whatever. We looked at him like that. I guess the difference between you and I came between like how and when you go about canceling him. So for me, I'm like, he's done. Like, I mean, and he's kind of, I've been like, he's been done before this has come out, because I've also canceled
everybody.
No.
She canceled Kanye.
I've canceled Kanye, R. Kelly, but the point I made, on this show several times was that I would go so far as I would say I canceled R. Kelly more than I canceled Kanye, because in my mind, Kanye has mental health issues that he's not dealing with, and he's also a fucking idiot. I was like, but he's not he's not a criminal. I was like, R. Kelly is a criminal.
Well,
so
he has not been formally charged.
No, he has been formally charged.
I mean, he was proven not guilty on that situation. I'm not going to bat for him.
So was George Zimmerman.
But you're right. Another thing with R. Kelly that Brandon brought up today is that he kind of became a product of his own environment. Like, he's sick himself.
He is.
He was molested and he became a predator. Mm-hmm. He never got that help. So
okay.
I'm not making it right or anything like that. But do we ever see that?
We do.
Do we see that and say, okay, he's wrong, but he still needs help, or do we just cast a stone?
No,
and I'm just asking.
He needs help, and he can get that help in jail.
That's our biggest difference.
I agree with you on that.
He can get that help.
you need to go to jail.
Yeah, because
But you also need help.
For every R. Kelly, there's who was a victim of abuse. There's a Brandon who's not making those decisions, who's who's doing the work now to make sure that he is not falling victim to the cycle that a lot of abused children succumb to. And I am not like streaming his music, buying his albums, going to his tour dates, whatever is putting money in his pocket that allows for him to continue to do it. And that's another thing to me that makes him an even more foul nigga, is because it's not even like they're doing this and they're like, we're talking about the 90s and the early 2000s. They're talking about to this day, to right now, there are young women now. And this is where Brandon, the fair game phrase came in, because some of these young women are of legal consenting age. They're 18, they're 19, they're 20, they're 21. However, my thing is that that's still predatory behavior. Maybe he's gotten wiser as far as,
and I haven't taken that away. But what I'm saying is that it's more morally incorrect than it is illegal. Like, he's not doing anything that's illegal.
Okay, let me ask this.
Yeah.
So, because 18, 19, 20, 21, they're of age, right? Mm-hmm. Are they mentally of age, mature?
No.
So, because maybe he knows that, is that still fair game? Because cognitively, they're not there yet, but they have the age of consent. After us reading
the what's the name, I was using fair game as far as like it's fair in the sense of they're of illegal age.
Yes, he did amend his statement. Yeah.
So I'm not saying fair game like it's cool for him to be a predator because they're young
or they deserve it or anything.
Yeah,
like
I'm not saying that. When I say fair game, I mean they're both legal in the age. He's not doing anything illegal. Do I, as a 30-year-old, want an 18-year-old? No. There's nothing that me and an 18-year-old can talk about.
So you saying by technicality, because it's legal, he's really not doing anything wrong because they're of age.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I could see your point of view on that.
I'm saying in that sense, he's not doing something. He's morally incorrect, because you got to have some type of morals. You got to have some type of
right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
But what is he? He's in his 50s.
Yeah, but he's actually doing it legally because
and that's what I'm saying.
And predators get wiser.
That's what they do become wiser.
Yeah.
Well,
especially when they go unpunished.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say, all right, well, I did this back then, but I got to be more savvy now because I got more eyes on me. Because
it's taken our generation to mute R. Kelly and push it because. Again, when R. Kelly sex tape came out, I was in my teens or my early
we were like middle school
adolescence. So, to me, seeing that video, it was normal. It was a normal thing,
right?
It was it was the conversation of barbershops across the country.
Yeah, but it was a normal thing. Older dudes mess with younger girls. You know, in high school, there were young girls who talked about the older dudes that they were messing with. There used to be the freshmen in college who's coming back,
right?
To visit the young girls. So I'm not saying that it's right, but I'm saying in our society, that's what it's been.
I mean, it used to be legal. Somebody just put a label on it and said it was wrong.
Yeah. And it's about us breaking. I think ultimately though, it's about us having the conversations in order to break the stereotypes and break the cycles. Because I'm like, Tatum is gonna know if a 35-year-old man is looking at you when you're 17, fuck out of here.
No.
Like you.
Even with that, I have to say, if my daughter or my son mislead somebody by saying that they're an older age than what they really are and are messing with an older person, I'm not gonna necessarily just press charges based off of that.
If that comes in, I wouldn't say that.
There'll need to be a conversation like this is over, and then if you continue, then yes.
Now we are absolutely.
But, I feel like that has to be said sometimes too, because we have people who lie about their age, and destroys a person's life because this person didn't know.
Yeah, I feel like that is a unique situation where there's responsibility on both ends, especially if you're right at that, like it's because there are, now I'll say this, there are young people who physically look a lot older than what they are. There's some who are mature, but then there's a lot of them who, once they open their mouths, you're like,
hell no,
nah, fuck out of here, like you not talking, this shit you talking that you don't know nothing about. And I mean, I'm not saying that it kind of sucks too, but I will say this, I can agree with you on that. Like if a 17-year-old tells somebody that they're 19 or that they're 21 or whatever,
you say a 16-year-old.
okay. So, but if you're saying you're 18 or older, and then you're talking to a 26-year-old, like then that's. But then all I'm saying is this.
I'm making a change on that.
What?
I also have to know the age too, because if you're 30-year-old and my daughter tells you she's 18 and she's really 15,
you look at some fucking ID.
I mean,
you can't be
you can ask those kind of questions.
I'm just saying,
like as the adult,
for me, that's kind of like predatory.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's creep status at the bare minimum.
If you're 21 and she said she was 18, I'm
See, 21 and 18, that's still like you're still kind of in that same cognitive development. Like
I think the 2 to 3 years different, but that's what I'm saying. Before, I wouldn't have said that. Before, I would have just said
any age.
If my child lied to you, it's whatever. But now I have to kind of look at it and think about.
If me and you the same age and you try to talk to my child, fuck that, because that means you grown like I'm grown. So that means I can look at Hugh Brandon and understand that you're younger than me by several years. I could probably look at a freshman on Bowie's campus or on Towson's campus, and I can tell. And I'm like, so even if you if you lie by a year or two, whatever. My thing is though is that why am I interested in you? If I'm 15 years your senior?
I can't even lie about my age because people think I'm so young. People still think I'm in high school.
Yeah, which you do. You look very young. So
I'm like, man, I done graduated college. I'm in a master's program. I got too much.
And that's gonna be work to your benefit when you're 65.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be 45. Like, yeah.
But I think the thing is like, people have to do their due diligence. You also have to examine. People need to examine why they are, like, if you're consistently interested in people who are significantly older or significantly younger than you, what's leading that behind, because that's and then you have to get like there's levels to it, because there's creepy, right? But then there's also like where it's predatory and illegal and all of these other things too. And it kind of popped into my head, like Love and Hip Hop, they had a whole group of men who called themselves the Creep Squad, and those men were all in their like 40s, early 40s.
But I don't think that they were messing with like young girls. I think they were not creeps, because they were just like doing creepy things.
Yeah, they were but I'll say this. I think that I do feel like those men they got older, but the age range that they kind of messed with, all these girls these women that were singers, now they were all like at least I would say 21 and over, but still, a good chunk younger than them, because there's that whole thing of like, oh, they're malleable. I can turn them into I can mold them into what I want them to be. There's that aspect to it, which I think is where that's the first sign. It's just like, why do you want to, somebody that you can control? Like, I want somebody who's who's equally yoked with me. I want somebody who's on the same.
But that comes back to just like growing up and you hear people say things and learn stuff and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's what I think, like. My father used to always say, you look at a woman's hands and her feet. You can tell a lot about a woman by how they take care of their hands and their feet. I've also heard my father's always talk about, like, he doesn't like women without, pubic hairs. Like, to him, it makes him feel like...
he's looking at a child.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
hearing that growing up, you kind of start thinking about things like that. Like, well, do I like that? Do I not like that? Because growing up young, you didn't, you don't want no hair. You don't want to see hair, all this other stuff. Like, they make memes and jokes about that. But I think when you hear things and then you see things, you kind of process it differently. Also, sometimes as kids, we learn things based off of our friends. You know?
Yeah.
We do things and
they
we,
just as dumb.
And we talk about things
as you are.
based off of friends who learn from their cousins or learn from their friends' friends. And you know, a lot of the things that we think is just stupid.
Very stupid.
You know, I'll never do this, I'll never do that. And then you grow up and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, it's just a mind thing. And that's why I think it's the most important thing. Like, my mother talked to me and my brother about sex. Like, a lot about just sex. Like, me and my father never had that conversation. I had a conversation with my mother. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was able to have that conversation and be able to ask questions, and I wasn't chastised, or I wasn't like, why are you acting to get out of here?
Or go to
You know what I
school,
mean?
or go to school and learn that.
Yeah. Or learn from your friends. And
so, you know, I think having that open communication is so important. And I get it; it could be uncomfortable to have, but the children have to have someone that they can go to get the right information, so that way they're not fishing or they're not gullible,
getting it from their friends.
To things.
And you got to be. I think the biggest thing, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, to have those tough discussions, with your children and stuff like that, because they get the wrong information, they go out do something stupid, they come back with an STD or a baby, and be like, or it's like an older person involved in a situation. Now you're like, what the fuck is going on here? When did this happen? I didn't know you was doing this. But if you communicate that, and then your child communicates that with you, I think that it works out better and builds a healthier relationship.
It definitely can.
It seems like it's up to us to lead the way, like our generation and those coming behind us, because I think, like I said, you hit the nail on the head. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, the idea of your children engaging in sexual activity is uncomfortable, but at the same time, but it's gonna happen. That's how they got here, because you engaged in some sexual activity.
Right.
Like, so it's about making sure that you're and then also making sure that you're informed, because you don't want to give out, because we all are victims of passing along those like age-old sayings and those stereotypes. You pass it on, but like, no, we need to, like, sharpen our minds and our thinking on that, and making sure that we're communicating effectively and communicating the correct information. I can't tell you how many times, again, as a middle school teacher, like, my kids are not going to say have this like open conversation with me, but I hear them in passing sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, okay, like, I have to start saying, okay, I'm an adult, I'm a trusted adult, but I'm not their parent, so I don't want to. I said, but at the same time, I'm like, I've walked by and I'm like, that ain't it. Like, I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything else, but I'm like, what you say? I was like, is not correct. So let's keep it, keep it moving, and like go from there. Or other times where, we've had conversations that, still appropriate, but like, clarify, and they have questions and stuff like that, because there's such a chunk of that adolescence and that young adulthood where everything hinges on wanting to feel like you're a part of a group. You want to belong. You want to feel important. You want to feel special. You want to feel like you fit in. So you will say and do whatever it is and go along and take the words of people who know just as much as you, and instead of listening to the adults, or instead of asking the questions and being like, oh, this doesn't sound right, let me look it up. I don't know, I can't tell you how many times where I'm sitting in front of my 8th graders or my 7th graders, and I'm like, how many people in here have finished middle school? And I'll be the only one that raised my hand. I'm like, so, and I'm talking about just whatever. I'm like, so who do you think has more information about the topic at hand? Y'all or me? Like, I'm like, so you could ask them and they're going to tell you the wrong thing. I said, or you could ask me and I'll tell you the right thing. And I'm just talking about, I have to teach physical science or biology for part of the school year, and we get into like sexual reproduction and explain, and I explain it, and I explain it from the science teacher perspective, but at the same time I'm like, y'all, this is how this shit works, like, because they don't understand. Like,
they should be mandated. That's something that's
what New York State did. They mandated.
That's something that
mental health
that should be spoken about openly.
It should, but a lot of people don't.
At that age, I mean, listen, you can make it prettier. You don't have to go all out. You don't got to show a porno, but we should be talking about this. They should know about this stuff. If you get an STD that's not curable, like, that's forever.
Yep.
Right, and at such a young age, you never know the long lasting effects on that
Yeah.
person mentally at a young age until
But
they
think
grow
about
into an
people who
adult.
do have stuff and they're told not to say anything.
And then that's how it spreads.
And now they just spread it because
Yeah.
they're not supposed to say
And you
anything.
Or they have something and they don't even know that they have it.
and they pass it
And
to
it
kids.
gets worse.
You know what I mean? So I think that we have to work on being okay with being uncomfortable. Again, everyone parents differently, and I know everybody wants their child to be in this bubble. But once you hit a certain age, there's certain things that they should know and should be talked about because they're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna do it.
They're going to do it
You know?
behind your back, whether
Yeah.
if you want
but
to
if
or
they
not.
have the information, if we get, I think this is going to be our episode title, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you have the information, if we communicate that, then it's not gonna be a cure all for predators and people being abused, but it's the step in the right direction for people understanding that, like, this isn't okay. Something that's whatever's happening to me, I may not understand it, but I know that I don't like it. And if I don't like it, I should say something about it to somebody.
Absolutely.
And then if you want to get into the realm, because we kind of shifted to just kind of like adolescence and growing up and, that just time of our lives where sex is just the most,
hormones going crazy.
Yeah, everything's just, bugging out. But it's also like having that information, because like you have people out there who don't understand how their bodies work. They think they don't, and then if you don't understand how your bodies work, that means that you don't understand what's happening when you do engage in sexual activity.
Yeah.
You don't understand how could she have gotten pregnant? How could I have gotten this STI? When it's like, had somebody told you, or had you asked the questions? Well, really, it's our responsibility as the adults to teach them and to get, almost overshare than undershare, because then that way they can make safe decisions. Teenagers and sex are, that's peanut butter and jelly. That's just age old, but it's about the safety that they need to have. It's about being able to recognize and understand their own bodies and their own understanding, to know and recognize to the best of their abilities when somebody is preying upon them, so that they can get the hell out of there if they can, or they can communicate it to a trusted adult, so that way somebody can step in for them.
And it's also about, again, like Brandon said, being believed if something does happen.
Absolutely.
But it's also about knowing that you have the power to say no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have the power to change your mind mid-stroke if you wanted to. And I think that's another big thing that we have to, teach our kids.
About consent.
It's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's okay for people to not like you, or for people to make fun of you. Like sometimes sometimes it's okay for that to happen. It builds character.
Yeah.
And you don't have to fall into peer pressure because somebody said something to make you do it.
Right. It's how you respond to those negative situations.
100%.
Man. You can't control what anybody else do, but you can control what you do.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's how you respond to things, and it's about giving people the information they need to know, so that they can be on alert, but then also too, so that way we can find and weed out predators and get them the fuck up out of here. Because at the same time, we can equip everybody with the tools, the people out there who are just the sheeps, but we got to pull out the wolf in sheep's clothing too, because they're the true problem. Because that I just want to make sure that we're driving home the point of, like, yes, we need to be all equipped with the tools to make wise and smart decisions, and even if they come with uncomfortable conversations, but we also need to focus on identifying these uncles, these cousins, these friends of the family, and put them on the spotlight and call them out, because these friends and get them out of here. Because basically it's like same way how they were like, oh, we need to teach our girls to be look out and this and the other. We also need to teach our boys to understand, like, no means no, and what consent is and stuff. Same thing goes for the abused and the abusers. Don't just put it all in don't put all the responsibility on the abused to look out and handle themselves differently in the future. It's also about identifying the abusers and bringing them to justice.
Yeah, and having something done.
And have something done, because that is the true problem. So I think this is gonna be my our final thing. So is R. Kelly officially canceled? This is
I told you last week.
3 episodes.
Canceled.
Okay.
Golly,
Okay.
He's canceled. He's canceled.
Thank you.
I've deleted him off of
You did?
my playlist. Yes. But I didn't have a playlist, but I had some songs.
I had some songs of his in mine too, and I went through and I just,
songs.
I deleted them. I just listen. This was I think it was a perfect way to kind of end this. We don't have to necessarily talk about it again. I mean, obviously, if it comes up with R. Kelly, whatever, in the news, and there's new things coming up with him every day because of this documentary.
Michael Jackson's coming next.
But he's dead. So I mean,
they don't care.
They don't. There's not what's going to happen with him. Like I'll say this: R. Kelly's situation is going because he's not only did he do it, but he's still doing it.
That's my biggest issue. Like if we're gonna condemn one, we should condemn.
We should.
It shouldn't be. Well, he's dead, so
no. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm not saying he's dead. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying though is that he's dead, so there's nothing that can be done to him
2019
directly.
There's gonna be a lot of your favorite people.
Yeah.
Who's gonna
and don't just do the men of color either. Don't just do
100%.
And women.
Yeah, do the women, do the men.
Black China. She was
get them all.
Because I don't know if you guys know Terry Crews he was
gonna do Torre show.
Yeah, he canceled.
And he canceled it.
Yeah.
And Torre was the main one.
Yeah. Now Torre, his thing, and this could be a whole other conversation because I'll say this: cancel culture is a slippery slope because I'm not defending him. What his was like. He was like sexually harassing like a makeup artist or something, and so.
But my thing is,
and so it's about that.
Don't be that person in the documentary going so hard at somebody when you have skeletons in your closet.
Right.
Yeah, but you're right.
And that's my biggest and that's the reason why for me to cancel R. Kelly, I had to want to cancel him. You know, we live in a society where everybody does stuff because it's a fad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like. There's true people like Dani canceled R. Kelly months ago, canceled Kanye months ago. So she wasn't joining the fad. But my thing is, for me, I have to hear all details and I have to be able to make a sound decision.
Right.
And that's why, for me, it took longer to say, all right, I'm canceling R. Kelly.
Yeah.
But we have these people who's, you know what I mean? Like, again, it's gonna be a lot of people who's going to wind up coming out who you're going to have to cancel. Are we going to cancel Derrick Rose? He had his allegation and his, I guess, rape culture type situation. So, like we're gonna have a lot of skeletons.
Yeah,
trying to do this. Like I think as a world, as people, we have to reshape how things were, and then move forward.
And I think what I'll end on for me is I agree that we have to break cycles and reshape culture, but then during that time what we need to start looking at like is those people who aren't flat out criminal, right? But those people who were subscribed to a certain culture, are they evolving and are they growing and changing? Because there's certain things that people say and do that might be inappropriate, that might be fucked up, but it's not illegal per se, right?
Right. So morally.
It's a moral thing. But because it was a cultural norm, people participated in it. So I think what we have to watch for is we need and identify is who are as we bring stuff to the call people to the carpet, and as we bring cultural norms to the carpet and say, no, this has to stop because this is why this type of stuff keeps happening. The people who subscribe to that stuff, are they saying, you know what I did back then was fucked up? I realized I was wrong and I'm doing better now. I think that because there's those people that like live in that limbo, in that little bubble area where you want to see that there's evolution. Yep. Because like I said, cancel culture is a slippery slope. My reasons for canceling Kanye, everybody doesn't have to, okay? But my reasons for canceling Kanye have more to do with my moral and my political opinions and versus him finding him as a criminal and a predator. R. Kelly's a criminal and a predator, so to me that's cut and dry, okay? But I can understand and respect why somebody else might not cancel Kanye all the way, or for whatever reason, because it's a difference of opinion. But I just want to say, like, we need to make sure that we're watching as we push culture forward and we change things as a generation, who's changing with it. Because if you're refusing to change for the better, that's when it's a problem. If you were one way at one time, but then once you realize what you did was wrong and you move forward, then I can
I
can appreciate your growth because we're not the same people who we were 5 minutes
100%.
ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we just also have to be mindful of.
But society hasn't allowed people to change.
Sometimes no, and that's the court of public opinion is a vicious court, and it's not going to, and they're going to jump on people and they're going to tear them apart, and then if it comes to light that the person was wrongly accused or whatever, then people just kind of shrug and keep going about their day and leaving those people in their wake. I'm not saying that that's right,
and
but
that's the reason why I can't make decisions until I'm able to fully evaluate.
and
the
I can
situation.
respect that. The only reason why me and you beefed about R. Kelly was because my thing was that I didn't think there was anything. There was nothing really to kind of like vet. It was like, okay, this is what it is. He's wrong. He's done. We're moving on. But with that being said, we're gonna wrap things up. Brandon, thank you so much for sharing your story. We appreciate you being so forthcoming and open about your experiences, about your outlook, and also, especially as this being kind of your push to be more public about your experience. Thank you for coming on the show and allowing us to interview and be a part of this moment for you. And if you, whatever it is that you do in the future, like if you know that you have our support and our, waving, fists in the air, everything, because we want to be a part of that change too. And if there's, is there any place? I know you're kind of like, are you still going to keep your social media? Do you want people to know your social media?
I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
It's just for the simple fact that, I have to be ready for the spotlight. I have to be ready for the challenges or whatever that may come when making this movement. Like, I have to be ready for that, and I have to just start doing it. But when I do it, I want to do it the right way.
Absolutely.
And make sure that I got the right support system that's going to help push it in the right direction and bring it to the surface to where it needs to be. Like I said, I'm comfortable with myself. If anybody want to ask questions or anything like that, or they want to have some doubts or they want to throw shade or whatever, I can take it. It's nothing nobody can say or do to me that I probably haven't said to myself. I'm an open book. I let all my skeletons out the closet. So if anybody got something to say or they, ask me, go ahead, say it, spread the rumor, whatever. It's not going to hurt me. Yeah. That just shows the hurt in yourself.
Yeah, you're right. And I think what you'll find, though, is that you'll have more people coming to you saying, like, damn, I never knew this, or damn, this was exactly, I went through something like this, and, you share that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you like, do you want to share maybe like your Instagram name in case somebody wants to?
So
reach out to you. To talk more?
You can look me up on Facebook, Brandon Rivers, in parentheses, it's uncommon. Or on Instagram, it's B_red003.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure we put them in the show notes too, because I'm sure you might find that like as you go, become more forthcoming in public with your experience, that people are going to reach out to you. And I feel like it'd probably be way more people support and identifying and sharing their experiences with you than anything. Like,
absolutely.
Will be a wave of that over anybody trying to like be shady or negative.
Because like, and I'll say this: don't let my face fool you. I might look like I don't want to be bothered, but I talk people. So.
I've seen his teeth several times since he was sitting here. He's smiled a couple of times.
Yeah.
So.
People think that I don't smile at all. They just think I just look mad. No, I'm not always mad. I'm actually always willing to talk. Once I get talking, I can't stop talking.
Well,
so
that's important. Well, with that being said, I think that this is another episode of Lovers Quarrel in the Bag.
Yes.
So, of course, if you have any follow-up questions, concerns, comments, make sure that you hit us up on Instagram at Lovers Quarrel Show, on Twitter at Lovers Quarrel 7, or email us at loversquarrelshow@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere in between, and leave comments and reviews. And I think that's pretty much it. This has been a great conversation.
Yes. Learned a lot.
You did. Me too.
You did.
No, I'm saying like that was not trying to.
Yeah. See.
You know what?
You see how it goes.
Go close your eyes. Go upstairs.
That's crazy to me. See, so now so you're just gonna keep on throwing the shots and insults.
Just rest your eyes.
You right.
Okay. So with that being said, this is your girl Dani.
This is your guy TJ.
And you know that we fuss.
And we fight.
But we love. Bye.
Later, y'all. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.